Coming up on Tech News today, honestly good news for BlackBerry. Also, the real damage of the Spamhaus war, and Sony shows you a little more PS4. All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Thursday, March 28th, 2013. Tech News Today is brought to you by Lantronix, maker of the Xprint server. Print from your iPad, iPhone, or any iOS device to virtually any printer. For more information, visit xprintserver.com/twit and enter the code TWIT to receive free shipping on your order. And by Gazelle, the fast and simple way to sell your used gadgets. Find out what your used iPad, Samsung Galaxy, and other smartphones are worth at gazelle.com. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Aya Zakhtar.
And I'm Jason Howell.
And this is the show where we keep you up to date in the most important stories in the tech world, then put some of them in context for you, starting with the top 10 of the day in the news feeds. Really, and I'm not kidding you. I'm not being sarcastic. I'm not even being charitable when I say this. Good news for BlackBerry. That's right. BlackBerry reported 22 cents earnings per share on $2.7 billion in revenue, beating consensus expectations of a loss of 28 cents per share on $2.8 billion in revenue. BlackBerry also sold 6 million phones. 1 million of those were the new Z10s, or Z10s as they call them in Canada. Former RIM co-CEO Mike Lazaridis did put a little damper on the good news, announcing he's stepping down as vice chair and director of the company.
Cyberbunker, which we explained yesterday, was accused of backing a DDoS attack against the anti-spam site Spamhaus, had its own website knocked offline. Though Cyberbunker spokesman Camphius claims his company was not responsible for that DDoS attack in the first place that launched last week against Spamhaus. Instead, he's pointing to an internet collective going by stophouse.com. He says Spamhaus pretends to be spam fighters, but effectively, they're just a censorship organization which worked itself into a position where they can just look at a website and shut it down.
At the Game Developers Choice Awards, the game Journey grabbed 6 of 11 awards. Journey is a PS3 downloadable game made by a studio named That Game Company and is the first independent title to win the Game of the Year award. Much to my surprise, the game Journey is not a power ballad band sim, but is about a guy wandering in the desert.
When the lights go down in the desert. Google officially opened its same-day delivery shopping service called Google Shopping Express. Users can sign up for a free 6-month trial of the service in San Francisco and also on the peninsula from San Mateo down to San Jose, California. A limited number of users will be selected for the trial and then get delivery from participating retailers, including Target, Walgreens, Staples, American Eagle, Toys R Us, Office Depot, and local companies like Blue Bottle Coffee, Nob Hill Foods, and Palo Alto Toy and Sport.
It's all about same day now. Hey, adults are the biggest texting while driving problem in the USA. Did you know that? Even though they know it's wrong. Almost half of all adults admit to texting while driving. This is a survey conducted by AT&T, provided to illustrious publication USA Today, compared with 43% of teenagers. More than 98% of adults, almost all of them, admit that they know they're doing something illegal, but they still do it. And 6 in 10 say they weren't even doing it 3 years ago. So it's getting worse.
2% weren't paying attention to the survey.
And the kids are learning it by watching you.
Egypt says it's arrested 3 men who were found cutting an undersea internet cable belonging to Telecom Egypt. The 3 were found on a fishing boat off the city of Alexandria. So far, no statements as to why this group attempted to cut the cable. If those 3 guys are watching, as a retired attorney, I'd suggest not saying you were trying to cut the cord.
He is a retired attorney. You should listen to him. The U.S. isn't kidding around either when it comes to blocking Chinese manufacturers. First, as ZDNet reports, the U.S. may only approve the merger of SoftBank and Sprint if the companies agree to stop using gear from Huawei and ZTE. Also on Tuesday, the president signed the Consolidated and Further Continuing Appropriations Act of 2013, which prohibits the Commerce and Justice Departments, NASA, and the National Science Foundation from buying any IT systems produced, manufactured, or assembled by any organization which is owned, operated, or subsidized by China's government.
If you're using Google Maps, you might be enjoying some expanded real-time transit information if you live in New York, Salt Lake City, or Washington, D.C. In New York City, for example, subway riders can now check Google News to locate their next train. Google added some live departure times for 7 lines. Quick look at Google Maps shows information for most of the major lines. And in Salt Lake City, Google added real-time departure information about buses and trams in the region.
Amy Chozick of the New York Times reports Sue Gardner said she will step down as executive director of the Wikimedia Foundation, which runs Wikimedia, among several other sites. Gardner told the Times she will leave in 6 months after Wikimedia chooses a successor. And Gardner says she worries about the broader conditions of a free and open internet and wants to advocate more directly for that.
Head of Microsoft PR, Frank Shaw, published a blog post touting Windows Phone, saying, quote, Windows Phone has reached 10% market share in a number of countries, and according to IDC's latest report, has shipped more than BlackBerry in 26 markets and more than iPhone in 7, end quote. The New York Times read that to mean Windows Phone outsold the iPhone in 7 countries and contacted IDC to find out which were the lucky 7. They were Argentina, India, Poland, Russia, South Africa, and Ukraine. The 7th country is really an area, a group of countries from Central and Eastern Europe. However, the blog post could be read to mean 7 markets, which would mean Shaw is technically correct, the best kind of correct.
That's the most parsing the number 7 has gotten in a long time.
Yay.
Good for you, 7. This episode of Tech News Today brought to you by Lantronix. If you're at home or in the office and you want to print something from your iPhone or your iPad, you may think, well, I need to make sure I get one of those special printers that has AirPrint, or maybe I just going to have to install some crazy app or email it to myself. You don't have to do any of those things. It's frustrating to try to print from iPad unless you get the Lantronix device, XPrint Server. XPrint Server enables wireless printing from your iPad, your iPhone, or your iPod Touch, and it eliminates the need to print through apps, install software, or email yourself documents for printing. And it works with USB or the network printer you already own, whether it's wired or wireless. I tell you what, I was super skeptical of this. I'll be honest when I first heard about it, but they're nice guys there, so they gave me a device to try out. And it is insanely easy. You plug it into your network, you plug it into your printer, and it works. Great for printing directly from the iOS native menu, so you don't have to install anything on your device. No apps to buy, no software to load. It's compatible with more than 4,000 top brand printers, and it's just easy to use and set up. You open it up, you plug it in, and you print. There is advanced configuration if you're in an enterprise where you're just like, well, I need a little more control. It can give you that control, like Active Directory support, and it allows your USB printer to become a network printer, just kind of as a bonus. The Home Edition is $99, supports up to 8 USB printers and 2 network printers, and that's probably more than most homes need. The Office Edition is $199. That supports 8 USB and unlimited network printers, and that's where you get the network admin features. So if you want to check it out, go to xprintserver.com/twit. You'll get more information there, and you can buy it there. And we've got a special offer to use if you want to buy it. Use that code TWIT, T-W-I-T, to receive free shipping on your order. Remember, visit xprintserver.com/twit, and at checkout, enter the code TWIT. And we thank Lantronix for their support of Tech News Today. Joining us now to discuss some of the stories in the news, very happy to have Alexis Madrigal, senior editor at The Atlantic. How's it going, Alexis?
Good, good.
Lovely to have you with us. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Let's start with BlackBerry's good news. It's not the greatest news in the world to have earnings per share of 22 cents when they had 80 cents a year ago. 2.7 billion of revenue actually was a little under the estimate, and much lower than a year ago's 4.6 billion. But they're saying they expect to break even next quarter. They shipped 1 million Z10s out of 6 million phones. They say 55% of the people who bought Z10s were switching from another operating system, likely Symbian, but still, that's not bad news.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's been a long time since we even had something remotely positive to say for BlackBerry or the company that makes the phones. I think this is one of these things, though, where they used to be a major player. There are probably how many small Chinese phone makers that are selling an equal number of units just in China, equal number of companies in India who are selling these kinds of phones. I think that in large part, looking at BlackBerry, thinking about BlackBerry might distract us from like the real ball game in terms of where the competition for the iPhone and Android phones is going to come from, which at least to me, feels like it comes out of China and comes out of these phone makers who essentially are moving up the value chain from, making components to making phones to doing all these things. And there really just are so many of those companies. And because, a lot of news about them doesn't get into the English language press, I think it's just difficult to keep track of who we should be focusing on in those markets.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the reasons that subscribers declined for BlackBerry from 79 million down to 76 million, is they've been pouring all of their efforts into this top-end smartphone when the market, especially those markets you're talking about, are just kind of moving into the lower end of smartphones. Yeah,
totally. I think it's interesting. If I were RIM, I think I'd pretty much be trying to go into the developing markets full bore. I mean, if you're looking at the competition that they have in iOS and Android, I mean, how many people are they really going to pull out of there? And how many people who have BlackBerries now? I mean, I spent some time in Washington, D.C. It's like the last refuge of the BlackBerry. It's like it is practically like a national park for BlackBerry users. But even there, it's in there, pull it out. They're like, oh, well, I still have this for work, but I'm eventually, we're moving to the iPhone. And I think, what's the point anymore for them in trying to compete at that top end of the market?
I like the idea of the mall being this BlackBerry preserve.
Yeah, that's right. It's just people running around with
see them in their natural habitat. Ayaz, do you think the Q10, which is the one with the keyboard, it's a little lower end, do you think that can help fill that gap for BlackBerry?
Well, I think there's a chance of that. I mean, these numbers are really reflecting the cost cutting that Thorsten Heim brought in. He cut like 5,000 jobs, and there was like no severance. There was a huge severance payout last quarter, not the same thing this quarter. So I think that the Q10 can get a lot of people in the door if it's priced low enough. I think Apple was making fun of the fact that some Android phones are just basically the free ones that people get. These are the ones that you just, when you have a new contract, you're like, yeah, I'll get that. So maybe these folks aren't so Android loyal necessarily. They might be looking for other phones that have better functionality, even a better keyboard, because no matter what anybody says, BlackBerry or RIM before it always had really great keyboards, and that's hard to duplicate on any other phones still.
I will say I used to type like 80 words a minute on like the original BlackBerry, like the one that didn't even have a screen. It was just like this little thing like that. I could burn on.
I can't even type 80 words per minute on a keyboard. That's impressive.
Well, that's because you hold your hands weird. I think it's just I'm actually kind of fascinated. It's true. You should see him type. It's weird. I'm fascinated that just a couple of quarters ago, it was BlackBerry Death Watch all the time, to the point where we sort of would grimace when we would even bring up BlackBerry because we felt so bad. Oh, poor RIM. It seems that the tide is turning. Don't want to speak too soon, but things don't look as grim as they did not that long ago.
Not grim for RIM, but they're not RIM anymore.
Not so grim for RIM.
Yeah. All
Can't
right.
spell RIM without RIM. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's why they ditched the name.
So they ditched it. Yep.
We don't need that analogy anymore. We got a lot of follow-up to the Spamhaus cyber bunker war going on. Sarah, what's happening there?
Yeah, well, quite a bit of follow-up, actually. Gizmodo had a great article. Sam Biddle wrote it. It basically said, listen, we heard a lot of hoo-ha about how the whole internet was brought down. It was the biggest DDoS attack in history, and we really got to be worried, and the internet was crippled. And he says, well, where's the evidence of that? There was no evidence of a Netflix outage, although it was reported by both the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. It says there were no dips or spikes on internet traffic report that's designed to monitor the state of the net. If it began last week, why are we all just talking about it yesterday? He says Spamhaus and Cloudflare, which is the anti-DDoS firm that Spamhaus hired to ward off the attack, are really the only ones crying meltdown. Sounds like a lot of marketing to him. He even checked in with two global internet monitoring companies, NTT and Renesas, who both told Biddle, yeah, we're not really seeing global effects of this. We're seeing two organizations that are clearly squabbling and hurting their own infrastructures. But where's the real problem? Now, The Verge is reporting actual real damage over at the London Internet Exchange, or Lynx. And Jason, if you scroll down on this article for our video viewers, there's a nice little graph that shows a bunch of, crazy peaks and valleys in internet traffic, and says, that is Lynx peaking out at 1.6 terabits per second. In that graph, you can see that the traffic line goes up and down for hours and hours in the middle of the day, and that's never happened before. So The Verge says,
it's right there at Saturday. You see that big drop. That's what they're talking about.
Yeah. So it's not as if nobody was affected, but maybe the global, the global fear was out of proportion, right? Then there's another really great article over at Information Week, or actually Computer World, that says the problem about all of this, whether or not we were all affected or not affected, is there is an issue here, and it's all in DNS configurations. Spamhaus attacks involve traffic volumes that you mentioned yesterday, Tom, were up at 300 gigabits per second, 3 times the kind of stuff that we've seen before. The reason is that DNS servers resolve domain names to matching IPs, right? That's how they work. So if a DNS server doesn't have the domain information in its own database or cache, it pings other DNS servers, and those other DNS servers should be configured to be within a domain or an IP range. However, millions of open DNS resolvers respond to queries from the outside, and then you get into trouble because anyone on the internet can use an open DNS server to handle genuine or malicious queries. What happened in the Spamhaus case is that there was a attack, it was spoofed to look like it was coming from Spamhaus, sending a bunch of queries to a bunch of open DNS resolvers, made it look like it was coming from Spamhaus, then it got forwarded to Spamhaus and traffic multiplied from there. The Open DNS Resolver Project estimates 27 million active DNS servers that are open resolvers right now. So one can only hope that this will at least bring awareness to an issue that is at sort of a DNS root. You can't just change a bunch of stuff and expect the internet to stay afloat. But you figure, at least at the ISP level, this has got to be good education, right? What do you think, Ayaz?
I mean, when I saw this story come up yesterday, I was like, when did this happen? I seem to have missed this giant service outage.
Came out of nowhere, yeah.
And I watch Netflix constantly. I have a lot of online streaming things I have, or if I'm bothering to use a web browser on a television, I do a lot of that. So I was surprised to even see this happening. But this story coming to light and people noticing exactly how the system works, I mean, it's a bit dense, but it's good information for people to get, so they understand that, yeah, there can be an attack, but your actual outage might not be anywhere near as bad as purported, because it could just be this insane, oh my gosh, 300 gigabits per second, that sounds awful. But in actuality, there wasn't that big a hit.
Alexis, have you been following the story? Do you fall on the side of Cyberbunker or Spamhaus, or think it's all blown out of proportion?
Well, I think it's kind of funny that a network that was like built to withstand, a nuclear war would be taken down by like some, small company DDoSing each other. And I think that's, maybe that's where Sam, had a good story, in the sense that, you have this network that's much bigger than either of these companies. And if they're like, using whatever, open DNS servers they can find and all that, it's still kind of strange logic that they'd be able to do this to the entire internet. I think, at least for me as a reporter, I mean, I feel bad for Markov, the New York Times guy, because, it's really hard when you're dealing with a lot of these cybersecurity experts to know, like, who's legit and who's punking you, even if you know some of the legit people and you can ask them about. There's, like, all of these weird networks that are really difficult to keep an eye on in terms of just like the people being part of the network and who's trustworthy and who's not and who's going to BS you and who's not. And unfortunately, it seems like it doesn't look so good for him in terms of where he fell on the punked to not punked spectrum. I think he fell closer to punked.
I feel like what happened there is Akamai is one of the people that's quoted a lot in these stories. And Akamai was saying, yeah, we're seeing some effects. If I had to guess, I would guess that they told BBC, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, all like, yeah, this is the sort of thing that can really affect Netflix. We're seeing that might have, some bandwidth issues there. And that turns into the references to Netflix in that story, even though Netflix never saw an outage. I thought the story was definitely the battle between a spam cop, a self-appointed spam cop, and a safe harbor web host. And that's what we talked about yesterday, versus this idea that there is, because we were joking around looking at the internet traffic report on Monday, and it was totally green across all continents. So, yeah, it never seemed like there really was any exaflood out there. But I don't think anybody expected there to be. Doesn't take away from the fact 300 gigabits per second is a heck of an attack. And now Cyberbunker's been down. So there's, there's the retaliatory effect. Let's move on to something a little more lighthearted. PlayStation 4 leaking out. Sony's just inching out. More details. Ayaz, what did they show off this time at the Game Developers Conference?
Okay, at the Game Developers Conference, Sony actually gave some details about the new DualShock controller. It's the DualShock 4. It drops the analog face buttons and the D-pad in favor of digital. The new PS4i, they talked a bit about that. It uses 2 cameras instead of 1. It's got an 85-degree field of view, uses a 4-mic array, and it's got its own accelerometer, 3-axis accelerometer. So if you place it wrong, the PlayStation 4 will tell you a bit of what you should do about that. But there was more about the development of the PlayStation 4 in an interview at Gamasutra by Mark Cerny. He's the PS4 lead architect, and he says that Sony's been working on the PS4 since 2007. So it's a year after the PS3 launched. He said that there were some, quote-unquote, some issues with getting most out of the PS3 cell processor, which was apparently notoriously very difficult to develop for. And that's why the PS4 moved to a new system with unified memory, because that's what the developers wanted. He said the biggest thing was that we didn't want the hardware to be a puzzle that programmers would be needing to solve to make quality titles. Alexis, how are these pieces of information shaping your image of the PlayStation 4?
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I remember watching the PlayStation 3 launch like quite closely, where they were basically saying the exact opposite about the cell processor. It was like the greatest thing, and developers loved it. And you know, I think in a lot of ways, and this is not a dodge of the question. A lot of ways, I'm just sort of like, why is the PlayStation 4 being conceived as such a direct descendant of the PlayStation 3? You know, I think, as much as it's now, the Wii seems like a little bit, I don't know, retro or funny, as much as like it's not, you know, sort of pushing boundaries. The Wii was like a legitimately new direction, and actually many other things have followed down that route in terms of like changing the way that you control video games and control computing devices in general. Like, if anything, Nintendo has been like at the forefront of touchscreens when they had like the DS come out before the iPhone, and then this gesture control. And now we're seeing all this stuff with Leap Motion and a bunch of other companies trying to do similar gesture control. So I guess for me, like, the question ends up being like, Sony has continued to conceptualize what the PS4 is in a pretty narrow way, catering to like a very specific group of gamers who want very particular types of games. And maybe that's fine, but it also seems like they're limiting themselves to a smaller market than they could if they thought more broadly about, hey, this is this thing that's going to be in your home. You can play games on it. It's going to be a really powerful computer attached to your television. How do you want to control it? What do you want to do with it? Right now, and maybe this is just because of where we are and kind of the hype cycle where the only people paying attention are core gamers. But all we're hearing are like, you know, tech specs and things, you know, really things like ultra detailed things about controller. And I'd just like to see more about the actual vision for what PlayStation should be as a core part of the enterprise going forward.
Tom, what do you make of Sony's?
I think we'll see, and I think we'll see more of that at E3. It seems like they're really campaigning for the developers right now. They're hitting that really hard, as if it almost makes me wonder, like, did they have that much of a problem with developers? I didn't think so, right. But everything they're talking about is very developer oriented. I mean, it is the Game Developers Conference.
Yeah. But it's been that way, you know, in all of the announcements that we've seen. It's not just been at GDC.
Sarah, what do you make of Sony just actually giving out a lot of this information? I mean, Microsoft's been quite mum about its Xbox or next version of that. Sony's like, they had their event in, I think it was February. They've been talking a lot about the PS4, talking about specs and actual hardware. It seems like they're trying to drum up interest, but is this unusual? Do you think this is strange that they're talking so much?
Show me the PS4.
You want to see the box?
Yeah. Don't you think? I don't know. I find myself getting a little fatigued over a lot of this stuff. It's like, ooh, it's been in production secretly for 6 years. Okay, well, you don't have anything to show. I think it's we're getting closer to something. And as Alexis mentioned, this is probably. Where is Sony going with this? Is it really going to be some sort of extension of the PS3? You know, maybe not. But I'd like to see something rather than hear about how amazing it is and the history behind it.
I mean, I think when the PS3 came out or they introduced it, they showed a hollow box. I mean, if you just want to see a hollow design of here's a piece of plastic.
Well, no, that's not what I'm talking about. That's not good enough. I don't need a dollhouse version of the PS4.
Well, the PS4 could be like a dollhouse for the PS3 since it doesn't play any of the games. So like Alexis was mentioning, that change in architecture means this thing is not backwards compatible. I think they need to get out front because Microsoft obviously knew all of this stuff. There's no way like Microsoft is just learning about the way this PlayStation 4 is going to work. I'm just kind of curious how they're going to react, because they could be like, oh, we've had this stuff for years. We've known this is the way it's going to work. I mean, Sony was even talking about its DirectX 11 support. So, I mean, that's Microsoft's thing. So let's see how that works out.
We'll see all of this stuff at E3. We'll see Sony unveil what it looks like and talk about the strategy. We'll see Microsoft's reaction. We'll see the Xbox, whatever the next thing is going to be. It is just this weird hype cycle.
Yeah. I think it'd be interesting to look at what they were saying about the PS4 immediately after the PS3 came out. Because at least as I remember it, and granted this is a long time ago, but at least as I remember it, there were a lot of things about how maybe there wouldn't even be a box for the PS4. There were that, we were going to dematerialize this thing because we weren't going to need the, like they were saying a lot of really like pie in the sky things that I feel like in recent times the vision has really shrunk down. And maybe that's just as a result of where Sony is.
No, that's it. You've totally hit on it. There is no box. That's why we haven't seen it. It's going to be the big reveal. Nothing there. Let's take a quick break and thank our other sponsor for today's show, Gazelle. If you're thinking you need to save some money up, whether there's a box to buy or not, Gazelle's a great way to get rid of some of your old used gadgets. If you want a new iPhone or a new tablet, one of the new Samsung Galaxy or HTC phones, before you go get the new one, or even if you've already upgraded to the next thing, take your old phone and sell it on Gazelle for cash. Now, I say go do it now before you buy the new one because they lock in the quote for 30 days. So that's no risk. You go, you type in the condition of your gadget, you tell them what it is. They'll even buy broken iPhones and iPads, and then you'll get a quote back that's good for 30 days. You can lock that in. You don't have to sell it, but you can at any point during those 30 days, send that gadget, and then they'll turn it around within a couple days and give you cash for your device. You get it paid by check or PayPal, your choice. So before you shop for that new phone, go to Gazelle.com, GAZELLE.com. Find your item, tell them the condition, whether it's an old Samsung Galaxy S2 or iPhone 4, iPad 2. They buy all that stuff. They buy laptops. What's your iPhone, your iPad, or your Android smartphone worth? Take a minute right now. Go to Gazelle.com. You can do it while you're still listening to us and find out what that gadget is worth. Sell your used iPhone or your Samsung Galaxy smartphone today at Gazelle.com. The fast and simple way. We thank Gazelle for their support of Tech News Today. All right, we got a couple of stories about same-day delivery. We mentioned the Google one in our News Fuse segment. Also, Walmart CEO Joel Anderson was talking to Reuters, said they're brainstorming an idea to have in-store shoppers agree to deliver products to online orderers same day. Walmart has Walmart to Go, which is a same-day delivery service. 25 stores do that. Most of them use FedEx for the delivery, although some have their own trucks. 5 cities have their own trucks. Now, this idea of having in-store shoppers do it, they say is 1 or 2 years away. They're still brainstorming the dangers and how it might work. It's similar, according to Reuters, to a business called Zipments, which allows people to bid on being a courier for businesses. And of course, Google Shopping Express in limited trial for select users will allow you to order same day from select retailers. Sarah, do we really want same day that bad?
Well,
I mean, all these guys are falling all over themselves for it.
Yeah, well, same-day services, at least in San Francisco, I mean, you've got Postmates, you've got eBay Now, you've got Google getting into it, this whole Walmart story. I'm confused, though. If someone's already in a Walmart, they're already shopping for themselves, do they sort of go like, ooh, that person is wanting to order from sort of the way that I'm going home anyway. I'll just swing by their house and grab a couple more things. It sounds very confusing, and it sounds like Walmart would really have to figure out where the accountability would be strong enough so that this wouldn't just be a cluster
of things.
Cluster thing. But yeah, same day service it's all about that. I want something right now. I have used services, TaskRabbits and Postmates particularly, to get myself a burrito within an hour. If for some reason I just really don't want to walk downstairs, it has happened.
You and Veronica Belmont.
Sure, yeah, it's not a regular basis thing, but it's certainly something I like to have in my back pocket. But yeah, I mean the Walmart thing is somewhat confusing to me.
I mean, the only way it makes sense is if they have like a social function, so you would do it for your friends. Like, oh, Sarah's got this thing she wants to buy. I saw it on Amazon's wish list. Oh, we happen to have that at Walmart. You want to go buy it for her or pick it up for her? That would be the only accountability aspect I could think that would make sense. Because otherwise, You have random people, unless they're like deputized by Walmart as couriers.
Yeah.
This is a dangerous game to play.
Yeah, you gotta go through a background check. I don't want this weirdo knowing where I live just because I wanted to, get something that Walmart stocks. Then again, who likes going? Well, I don't know. Some people probably like going to large stores, but when I think of Costco, for example, that's a store that's pretty close to me. I just don't really want to go in there ever. Somebody can drop off some toilet paper, and somehow I can know that I'll trust them. I don't hate the idea.
I mean, to be honest, I sort of love it. I mean, in part because I think when I first started seeing this idea, it was like this radical design, competition kind of weirdness, right? In like 2005, 06. And now we have like Walmart talking about it, a company that can push it out to everybody. And, Zipmints is a kind of place that might work it out. And then Walmart just like snatches them up, like you saw with Zipcar and Avis. We do have reputation systems. Maybe they're not perfect. Maybe they're not even great. But, people get in other realms, people working this stuff out. I mean, like the various, taxi cab services, right? Like rent out the thing, Lyft, right? And these types of things. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the same basic principle, except you don't even have to spend time in a car with them. Although on the other hand, they do get to come to your house. So there's some like different risk factors and obviously worth like looking at those. But I mean, as a logistics system and as like something that could actually at scale have like a pretty I think could have like a nice efficiency bonus in a lot of ways, particularly in less dense areas. I don't know. I mean, if they can figure out the reputational stuff, and I think Sarah, those concerns are like totally legit, then I'd love to see it. I just think it'd be awesome if that was just like the way things work. Particularly if you start thinking about it when, in combination with these other future technologies 10 or 15 years from now, the autonomous cars, right? And someone's sort of like, oh, I'm getting into an autonomous car, and now it's going to, some packages are going to come with me and these things are going to go around. And there's a guy, if you Google whistle cars, there's a guy who has like a whole series of thoughts about how this stuff might work.
Well, and I mean, think about it really. I mean, sort of on a grand scale, it's like, if you can get people to almost carpool, right? So like fewer people are going into the Walmart because they're figuring out how to piggyback out of people that are already there. Then you can fire some people who are working at the cash register because you have fewer people in the stores, and it kind of turns into this whole other efficient model. Again, a lot of factors in play, but if it works, it could work well.
It's the reverse Airbnb, essentially.
Right.
People coming to your home, they're just bringing you stuff instead of staying there.
Yeah. And actually, I've been surprised. I mean, we run an Airbnb like with a cottage here, and I'm like shocked by how not freaked out I am by it. It's like so unbelievably normal, and part of that is like the amount of interaction you have with the people before they come to your house.
Most of the people who do Airbnb or the ride sharing all have that same expression. They're like, it's kind of frightening how it hasn't been a big problem. So maybe this is something that Walmart can work out. Netflix has got another original series in the works. We know Arrested Development. We know the horror show that's coming that I always forget the name of in April. And of course, House of Cards already out. What's the next one, IS?
Next one is called Sense8, and it has the very vague description of, quote, a gripping global tale of minds linked and souls hunted. So I don't know what that means. 10 episodes to launch in 2014, but the show is being produced by the Wachowskis, who made The Matrix. They were also behind V for Vendetta and Speed Racer. It's the Wachowskis' first TV project. And J. Michael Straczynski is the showrunner. Straczynski's worked on a number of high-profile projects like Thor and Babylon 5. You might have heard of these things. And also Amazon's announced another show that they're going to be working on. They've announced Betas, which is about 4 computer geeks and their quest for nerd fame. Michael Lehman will direct. He's directed Heathers, which is an awesome dark comedy. If you have never watched it, it's on Netflix. Go watch Heathers. Ed Begley Jr. is the biggest star attached. So Amazon's working on 6 comedies. Netflix has a pipeline of a couple of dramas. That horror show, which I can't remember either. A couple of comedies. Both are making children's shows. Alexis, is there a right way to set up original programming at the outset?
Gosh, I don't know. It does feel to me like early days of television, though, where there's just like this weird fragmentation and there's all these different models. And I feel like, like TV used to like go off the air at night and stuff like that. I feel like we're kind of in that phase of digital television. And I don't really know how it shakes out. I mean, as a consumer, I sort of hate it. I mean, even though I have Amazon Prime and also Netflix, I just like never really know what's going on. Like it sort of requires me to pay a lot more attention to television media than I'm interested in paying attention to. And I think it's just is this really how we want to watch television? Like it used to be so easy, and now it's getting like progressively more difficult. And it's not even the tools to manage it don't even really exist, even if you have a Roku box or whatever.
All right, Sarah, you cord cutter. Which one would you pick? Would you pick Sense 8, which you don't know anything about, but it's got the Matrix folks on it?
Hunted Souls. I already like that. The problem I have with betas is I'm going to compare it to real life because it sounds like the screenplay for many people that I know.
Oh, the Amazon show. I was like, wait a second, you're Hunting Souls?
No, betas. The one about 4 computer geeks and their quest for nerd fame. I mean, look around. It's everywhere. No, I think I like your comparison to the early days of television, Alexis. I am a cord cutter most of the time. It's fine. And then I run out of stuff, in my Hulu Plus queue or HBO Go, and I kind of go like, well, that's done. I'm just going to turn off the TV now. There's nothing left.
Which maybe is good.
Exactly. Yeah. It's
go outside.
Well, I sit in silence and I sort of like it.
You could put up a test pattern like the old days of TV too.
I could.
Yeah, all right.
I could. Yeah, I think all of this is. I think it's a great step forward. We've got a lot of creative people who are saying, why not just try something out? We've got these companies that are going to throw us some money that want to partner with us. You've got big names, people who are proven in the space of making good programming, who are trying a new model. And I think that that's really exciting. And, you see something like House of Cards is a great example of something that really worked well because the content is good. People said, well, is it going to, if people can watch it all at once, aren't they only going to talk about it around the water cooler for one day? No, I mean, that's not really the case. It turned into something that was a viral success in a different way that nobody could have expected. And we're just going to see more of this as long as the content is good.
It is early days, but I think this is kind of the best of all worlds. It's on demand, so you can get it whenever you want. It's high quality. There, whether you like the taste of Straczynski or the Wachowski siblings or Ed Begley Jr. And Lehman, these are high quality productions. Like House of Cards is super high quality production. So it's not. In that way, it's different than the early days of television because those were kind of experimenting and translating radio into TV. This is just TV to TV. The problem is discoverability. If you are a Netflix subscriber already, then this is great. You're going to discover it no problem. But if you're someone they're trying to bring in, there's a little bigger of a hump to get over, and then it becomes what you're talking about, Alexis, where it's like, oh well, there's 1 or 2 new things, but then there's the old things, and I'm a little confused about what's going on. Let's finish up with MIT, or no, I'm sorry, Northeastern University. It's still in Boston.
You're in the right region.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they'd be very happy. I went to school in Boston. That would not work very well.
About how rumors get spread.
Yeah, so this is a really great article over at Technology Review that points to an old paper published in 1973 by sociologist Mark Granovetter. I hope I'm saying one of those is correctly.
He's probably not listening.
Probably not. Well, you never know. You never know. I'm sure Mark's a big fan of TNT. His paper was called The Strength of Weak Ties. And the idea is that most info spreads through society between people with weak connections rather than strong ties. And the way that he sort of arrived at this was he asked a large group of people how they got their current jobs. And it turned out that most came from acquaintances rather than people that they knew really well, who maybe could have put in a word with a boss, that sort of thing. So this has been sort of the basis of a lot of what we teach and believe in the sociological realm. Martin Karzai and a team over at Northeastern University in Boston kind of took all of this data and said, all right, well, let's dig a little deeper. They looked at over 600 million time-stamped mobile calls between 6 million people over 6 months in a European country. They don't say which one. And the detail was the way that an individual's connection, so the person's ego net, that's what they call it, evolved over time. Time ordering reveals important characteristics about interactions. Are you strong with this person at this time? And then a little bit later, has that changed? That sort of thing. Then they went back and simulated the behavior that they had found. They created a network of artificial agents making connections with each other, and then looked at how rumors spread through networks to study how strong and weak ties play as the networks sort of evolve over time. So you can think of someone's, who's following me on Twitter versus who I'm following, that sort of thing. You can kind of make different social comparisons. Strong ties hindered the spread of rumors because they confine information to a group that communicates a lot with one another, and weak ties promote the spread of rumors. So strong ties hinder, weak ties promote. But this result, they found, really only emerged when the time-varying nature of the network became visible. Now, of course, if you think of the web and real-time social networks as they are now, this really applies to the way that many of us use the internet. Alexis, does this all mean that I got to stop following people I met once at a party and because they're only going to make it worse for me?
I mean, I find a lot of this like strong tie, weak tie research, particularly when it's applied to the internet, really interesting because I don't think we have a great sense of like what is a weak tie and what is a strong tie when it comes to the web. Like I think about, I've been on Twitter for 6 years. Some of the people that I've been following there since day one, I mean, even if I've never met them, I would consider that a pretty strong tie. Like if they were to say, you should buy X, that would have like a fairly big impact on my purchasing decision. And I think, that's one of the things that really complicates this, right? I mean, they take a network of real people, reduce them to these agents, and then sort of like evolve them. It's like, there's like a lot of steps between that and, your Facebook friends. One just like interesting like nugget when I was down at Facebook last week, they said that 80% of people's messages, like the median user, right? They send 80% of their messages to 4 people only, which is kind of interesting because we tend to think of Facebook as being this platform for all these semi-weak ties, people we sort of know, friends. But actually, the way a lot of people use the service is through to enhance their strong ties.
First thing I thought of when I saw this study was rumors on the internet about tech stuff, right? And this may be total coincidence, but when you think about it, Apple notoriously has weak ties with most journalists. They have a select group that they have strong ties with, and you never see leaks from those people. But everybody else, wild rumors about Apple. Other companies would like to have that kind of attention on their rumors, but they have stronger ties to the press. I don't know if that's just coincidence.
That's interesting.
I mean, it seems
that's hysteria.
It mirrors real life, right? Like if you're talking to me, I'm pretty sarcastic. You might be like, "Are you serious? Are you really saying that?" You'll double check. Versus just seeing something go by on a Twitter stream, you don't know if you can't get sarcasm necessarily. You can't see jokes as easily as hearing a tone of voice. I think that could actually just be the social ties being strong, meaning that you're not going to believe a rumor. Just seems like real life. That's what I do anyway, because you're like, oh yeah, okay, that's a joke. Is always joking.
That's a joke, or I know this person well enough to know that he or she just knows what they're talking about. It's
a joke, son.
Well, I'm going to unfollow a lot of people tonight. I'll tell you what.
That's pretty much
speaking of sarcasm and jokes. Actually. Yeah. Let's fire up the randomizer. All Things D has a posting up about a video it's an ad actually for Somersby Cider in the UK. And Jason, go ahead and roll a little bit of that. You'll get the idea. They're mocking Apple and they're selling cider.
I'm gonna
reach
straight in there and grab one.
Palm operating system.
This is it. This is what all the excitement's about.
16 pip, 32 pip.
This is the 32 pip.
Is it wireless?
Oh, yeah, look, completely wireless.
Single core, dual core.
Full of great content, easy to use.
Move towards the mouth and interface.
It works on your normal docking system.
That's docked.
That's docked, yeah. And you've downloaded.
I've downloaded?
Yeah.
One click.
Boom, you're connected.
Oh, so?
It's amazing.
Really good. And works perfectly in direct sunlight.
Ooh, slam on the iPhone.
That's not a slam. I feel like this is a homage.
In direct sunlight?
It's very clever. You're like, you don't thought, come on now.
It's like, okay, seriously? This is the ad
You didn't
campaign?
think that was clever?
No.
Why?
Because we've seen Samsung do this already. Everybody's made fun of these
no.
stupid Apple ads. It's like, oh, wow. It was like when the Mac PC ads came out, and then everybody did those.
For a drink.
I know. I understand. I understand that it's not a computer. I did catch that by the ad. But I'm just like, oh, come on. Somebody sold this idea to this company, and they thought this was good because it's an app. I get it. Okay? I don't need a minute of it.
But they're not selling a competing product. It's a whole different thing.
It's a lame joke.
I like the idea of alcoholic beverage being content.
Yeah.
Yeah, download it. Let's do it.
Into face.
I will go get my new cider from my mug here, and we'll see if it's any good.
All right, let's take a look and see what's on the calendar, Sarah.
The Samsung Galaxy S4 is now up for pre-order in the UK, so if you want to get in line ahead of the phone's official launch on April 26th, now is the time. The Surface Pro is launching in China on April 2nd. That'll be the first market outside of the US and Canada. And that's about, no. Actually, the Samsung Galaxy 4 pre-orders start on AT&T on April 16th for $249.99.
A little pricey there. Yeah. Interesting. Let's see what's incoming.
Incoming message.
Got a voicemail from Eric, sort of echoing the sentiments of one of our emails from earlier this week about Google Glass.
Hi, guys. This is Eric from Colorado calling about TNT 717, where the West Virginia legislator was proposing to outlaw Google Glasses while driving. While I definitely support people not being distracted while they're driving, this kind of technology can actually be very helpful to motorists. I've seen heads-up displays, for instance, that amplify low-light situations so that you can avoid a deer that happen to wander on the road at night. So let's just outlaw the distraction, not the technology. Thanks very much. Love the show.
Alexis, I'm curious what you think of this West Virginia law, if you heard about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I'm all for people putting like social limits on technology if they feel like it's a good idea. I mean, I think a lot of technology people have sort of like a visceral reaction against that idea that we should like stop the march of technology. But I think like we've done it a million times in like the history of human civilization. It's totally worked out just fine. I think the big question is like, what's the baseline that we're comparing? I think he makes a good point that we should outlaw the distraction and not, the specific kind of technology. I think. I mean, I've always thought this about even, anti-texting laws. You're like, oh, but if I had like a notepad, I could write on the notepad. I mean, it's just kind of silly. And I think that's sort of part of the kind of hysteria that you get around some of these technologies.
Yeah, like a driving mode that says no text messages, nothing like that's going to pop up. You can't watch a video.
But put the Google Map on there so I don't have to look down at my phone. I mean, that strikes me as like a reasonable compromise.
We got an email from Patrick Beja. You might have heard of the guy. He says, hey, guys, I think you might have missed a point in your T-Mobile discussions. The problem is that the current situation skews everyone's vision. When there are no contract-less plans, everyone pays for the subsidized phone every month, even when they don't need to. And when you wouldn't need to after 2 years, you can't get a plan where you don't pay for the phone anyway, so you might as well get a new phone and keep paying the high subsidized price. If phone costs and communication plans are clearly separated, the customer has options. This is what happened in France when Free Mobile did this last year, what T-Mobile announced for you guys, which I think they were heavily influenced by. These plans are significantly cheaper than their phone subsidized counterparts. The competition has to respond with contractless plans of their own, so the overall average plan is impacted throughout the industry. People have an incentive to keep using their perfectly functional phones. Manufacturers might sell less phones overall. Paying full price for a phone to be free 12 to 18 months later might be interesting to tech enthusiasts as well, et cetera, et cetera. He wrote that, not me.
Yeah, I mean, it basically, if you keep it for more than 24 months, it suddenly becomes cheaper, no matter how you look at it.
Yeah,
Alexis, were you
what
say
he
something
said.
No, it's a good point. I mean, I think that T-Mobile stuff, it feels to me like on their side, maybe there's some accounting benefits, but accounting's not my strong suit.
Yeah, mine either. All right, well, that wraps it up for us. Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. Alexis, a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks so much for being with us. Let folks know where they can find your work online.
Yeah, sure. Just go to The Atlantic, theatlantic.com/tech. That's where my team writes, and that's where I write. Or you can follow me on Twitter at Alexis Madrigal.
Excellent. You can also submit stories in our subreddit, folks. TechNewsToday.reddit.com is the place where you can vote on the stories others have submitted. Submit some of your own, and we look at that every day when we pick our lineup. Thanks for watching or listening. You can find us on the web at twit.tv/TNT. You can email us, TNT@twit.tv, or give us a call, leave us a voicemail, 260-TNT-SHOW. Darren Kitchen is with us tomorrow for our Friday show. We'll see you then.